Well, first, good morning, everybody. Welcome all of you to the first edition of our new webinar series called Commingled. Over the next several weeks and few months, we hope to bring you some really good content on everything from direct marketing, kind of what we do and live in every day, to leadership, professional development, and maybe even some personal development content as we are all navigating what are looking like long-lasting changes in our business and professional lives, or business and personal lives. So before we start, just a couple of quick notes. I think Victoria just mentioned that everybody's on mute, so which is great, but just for belt and suspenders protection, just please make sure that you are on mute for your audio. And second and more important, at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A button to submit questions to our guests. We will hopefully leave time at the end of the show today to take those questions. And of course, if we can't get to all of them, we'll be sure to follow up with you directly and get your questions answered. So without further ado, we've got some really great guests here today to help us kick this webinar series program off. Two people that I've enjoyed getting to know and work with on projects over the last several years. We have Mike Gunderson from Gunderson Direct and Tej Kohli from Experiture and Easy Pearl. Mike and Tej, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
So we'll get right into it. We've got a lot to talk about and cover today. Mike, I'll start with you. Your company, Gunderson Direct, you're a direct mail specialist and you focus heavily on creative. Can you tell us just a little bit more about your company and maybe share with us your outlook on customer acquisition programs in general right now?
Yeah, so my company, Gunderson Direct's been around for a little over 17 years. We started here in the Bay Area and we service a bunch of different industries and verticals and have really stayed true to our direct mail roots. I would say 90% of the work that we develop is direct mail creative, program management, list and data services, and production. We started as a creative agency for about the first 10 years and then started to pivot into offering full turnkey services. So that's been really exciting for the business. We're about 20 people here, nice close knit team, and super excited about where the industry is going. We've seen some huge growth over the course of the last 5 years. We were just named a top or a Fortune 5000 private company, fastest growing private company. So we're super excited about that. That's to be announced soon. And just as kind of how we're seeing business going right now, when COVID hit, it hit us really, really hard early on. Really the end of March and April were a bit tough. We had some clients instantly pause to preserve cash flow. And we, as a result, we were harmed by that. But we've been able to see a nice rebound in some of the businesses that we're working with, especially businesses in the insurance and healthcare areas, obviously. Those are doing really, really well. Telehealth and COVID-related mailings are doing awesome. Also, although SMB took a pretty big hit, mainly because if we can't get the mail into people's hands at their office, it's not going to be very effective. We have seen that small business and cottage industry mailings are doing really, really well. So we're excited about the growth of that. And then we're working right now with a lot of the SMB business in order to start to identify how we can target these prospects at home versus at the office. And we're starting to work with our clients on a strategy to start getting that mail in hand. So all things considered, we're starting to see a pretty big rebound, which is exciting. And we're just hoping that it can continue to stay in an upward motion as we get through Q3 and Q4.
Awesome. That's great. Good news to hear that some areas are rebounding pretty well. Tej, we've worked with Experiture and Easy Pearl on mail campaigns that integrate online engagement with the offline mail piece, obviously. Can you tell us more about your companies? And if you would, please share with us, what kind of general trends you're seeing with your clients.
Sure, absolutely. And first of all, thanks, Dennis. It's certainly a pleasure to be here today and talk to you folks. I know a lot of you are now experts at the teleconferencing and using tools like Zoom. And it's great to be able to spend time with so many folks in an interactive session. So Dennis, I mean, absolutely. I think from a transformation standpoint, when we look at so many events that have occurred, and I don't mean to get into human history here, but certainly over the modern era, over the last, even the last 2, 3, 4 decades, there's always been a pivot point that's changed the trajectory of things. I think the dot-com bubble was the beginning of the first, real scenario in recent past where we see, spikes and changes in the way, consumers interact. And now for us, I think with pandemic and COVID, a lot of that, is affecting the way we communicate. This event is a perfect example of that. So, in the marketing space, which I think a lot of us are on this call, there's definitely a lot of things that will be affecting the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we engage with our customers. And so, digital and omni-channel strategies, and most importantly, direct communication, we feel is really a very important next phase. As an organization, just a little tidbit about us, our 2 companies, EasyPro and Experiture, are in the world of data-driven marketing. So we have platforms, software platforms, on which customers create campaigns that reach their members, guests, consumers, businesses across various channels that can include, email, SMS, push messaging, social media, and then of course direct mail being probably the king of that direct marketing focus. So what we're finding is using tools and techniques that help kind of influence your campaigns, or help your campaigns influence that change in consumer behaviors is definitely the right approach.
Great. Hey, Tej, I know you mentioned omni-channel. I know you've always been an evangelist for true omni-channel marketing. Take a moment and talk about your philosophies and strategies for effective omni-channel approaches.
Sure. So what I'd love to do, Dennis, is kind of just walk through a quick presentation here that hopefully will, provide your viewers an opportunity to kind of experience, what we're seeing. So with your permission, if you guys can confirm that you can see my screen, I'd love to kind of jump in here and give you guys a quick peek.
I think everybody should be able to see.
All right, excellent. So folks, what we're doing here is, talking a little bit about, personalization, and what in the context of direct mail, which is really, I think, true to a lot of folks' hearts that are on the call today, is what are the tactics and techniques that we think can help you improve your direct mail programs, boost responses from your direct mail programs, ultimately help you get them to, be more reactive. And, we look at it in really 4 distinct steps here at, Experiture and EasyPro. And this is a strategy we've used with, thousands of clients over the last several years, launched over 300,000 campaigns, billions of, direct mail pieces that have been leveraged using our technology. So, we've had a little bit of history here, and, I'd love to share these over the next couple of minutes. So the 4 key areas that we are really encouraging our customers, and I think our customers to a large extent are driving this themselves, is looking at incorporating more omni-channel responses or more omni-channel response options in their direct marketing. Number 2 is incorporating a concept called personalized landing pages, or leveraging personalization more deeper. The 3rd is using analytics, specifically as it relates to direct marketing, in a much more efficient way than ever before. And then finally, really talking a little bit about how you can nurture communications. So, what are these response channels? And I just want to take a step forward here, a quick step to talk about how it relates specifically to direct mail. So when we look at a typical direct mail piece, what we recommend our clients do, and what a lot of folks these days are doing, they are incorporating as many channels as possible for that mail piece to be able to be responded and drive a higher conversion rate. In this case, variable QR codes, call tracking, texting, keywords such as refi to 89465 as an example, or leveraging personalized URLs are examples of how you can make that direct mail piece work harder, be smarter, and that approach ultimately will result in more leads arriving in more channels. So, a lot of folks have always taken the approach in the past that, when you incorporate with direct mail, if you're using, let's say, a 800 number, that's the approach you want to take. But ultimately, the more options in today's omnichannel environment you're able to incorporate, the better you are, because you're feeding that consumer's self-generated behavior to to really consume messages in that way. One other technique that we oftentimes talk about is the science behind personalization. And with this, using personalized landing pages, which is a key characteristic a lot of our clients do, is incorporating pearls on their direct mail pieces can help boost response rates tremendously. What we see here is, a typical website homepage generating, 1 or 2% response rates, all the way up to 70 or 80% conversion rates when a user arrives at a personalized landing page. So we are big proponents of using personalization, not just in your letter, not just in your mail piece, but extending that across the ecosystem to incorporate it with landing pages, vehicles online that act as the destination where you're going to drive your recipients, and use that as a way to expand the conversation that you can have with your members and guests and your customers, and these are just examples, guys, of so many different industries, whether it's healthcare, hotels, gaming and entertainment, healthcare again, automotive. Using these strategies, our customers have really been able to kind of beat that reversal of that trajectory over the last several years, where technology, or I should say direct mail, response rates as a total increase of volume of direct mail goes out or email goes out, those response rates have trended downwards. We're now seeing a flattening of that curve, sorry, maybe too soon, but also increasing that response rate, certainly to help. And the last piece of this message that, we advise our customers, and, most of them take this, really upon themselves when you employ this type of omni-channel strategy, and, it's part of what our platform is able to do, is essentially help diagnose the performance of that campaign very, very precisely. And, for this, I can jump into just a quick screen share here, where you can see, an example of a campaign dashboard that could be, a great approach for folks that are using direct mail to see, where your leads are coming in from very precisely. These are your web leads. These are your inbound SMS leads. These are your call tracking leads. These are your, and, in the case of pearls, being able to uniquely identify each visitor to their personalized URL, down to their specific address and so on. So, look, obviously there's no silver bullet per se when it comes to, dealing with the transformation in consumer behavior. But the one thing, the overarching approach that, our businesses have taken is helping direct marketing become smarter, work harder by incorporating these techniques in a unified way into your marketing approach. I want to pause for a second here, Dennis, to see if there's anything you'd like to add. And I do want to talk a little bit about nurturing, but let me toss this back to you, and maybe we can circle back in a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. Tej, great stuff. And I know that we've worked on a lot of projects using the pearls and QR codes, and just seeing really good results. We'll circle back on a couple things in a moment. Mike, I know you guys have done a lot of things as well to blend the online and offline worlds, and you've got a new service called Respond Fast that's really exciting. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it's helping your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tej, you mind stop screen? Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Respond Fast. I also have a slide deck here that makes it easier to explain. We developed Respond Fast as kind of a way to figure out how do we tap into the popularity and growth of smart speakers, and how can we make it easy and seamless for consumers to respond to direct mail offers simply using their voice. And in doing that, be able to get full direct attribution back to that direct mail campaign. And so when I was thinking about this, this is a new company. I figured something existed, and so I was just going to tap into it and start offering it to my customers. But what I found was nobody else was doing this. And so I said, well, why don't I do this? So we worked and put together a prototype. I have a patent pending for this technology, and we're super excited to bring this to market early this year. And I want to just talk to you a little bit about this new technology and how it might increase response for direct mail campaigns. So, the first thing is there's no doubt how explosive the growth has been for smart speakers. And in that growth, there's been two front runners. Google and Alexa both are the strongest competitors in this, with Alexa owning most of that market share. Our technology works on both those platforms seamlessly, and it's really exciting for our customers to be able to tap into their smart speakers to do something other than setting a timer or playing music. Or getting daily news. So what we're really trying to do is start to build in consumer behavior to interact more with the smart devices in order to get more out of their marketing. So as I mentioned, adoption's been about 88 million Americans who own an Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant. 30% of those Americans who own one own more than three. So they, once they really do lean into the technology, they do like to have them in multiple rooms, which again makes response easier. Enthusiasm, 61% of smart speaker owners have encouraged their friends to purchase a device. And as I mentioned earlier, the penetration between these two players is the largest, and so that's where our technology is focused. Things that you can use Respond Fast for are just anything that you could market on a direct mail piece. So if you want to drive them to a landing page, offer them coupons and promotions, if you want to get surveys or ratings, fast app downloads is key. It's very hard to get attribution through Apple's app store. So by being able to track the click and drive them directly to an app download, that allows you to see where that new customer came from. Daily specials, we have really great technology within this that will allow you to load in on-demand audio. So if you have a podcast you just want to bring up, or you have a commercial or in-market radio that you're already using, you can actually drive that to play right on this, right on the smart speaker as well. And then of course, custom brand experiences to start building those connections with customers. And in addition, we brought this technology early to the USPS, and we're able to get into their emerging and advanced technology discount. This has been really exciting because they're fully embracing this technology as something that they think will continue to grow. And as part of that reward, they're offering customers until August 31st a 2% postage discount. And as you can see, depending on your mail volumes, that can start to be fairly substantial, especially since our service only costs $399 a month. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about how it looks and how it works. Really, it's about a consumer getting a mail piece in their mailbox, and then opening that mail piece, reading through it, hopefully being motivated to take action. And then all they would simply do, if they have a smart speaker, is to say launch, respond fast, and use the phrase get started. So this is an example we did for Policy Genius. So you can see once the letter's out of the envelope, there's your traditional call to action with your URL and phone number. But then there's a new call to action. And what's great about this is truly new. Consumers haven't really seen this. It could be kind of a new and exciting way for them to respond to these offers and start to actually take advantage of that great technology that they have in their kitchen. So as you can see here, there's a call to action at the bottom with a little icon for a smart speaker. And as I mentioned, just launch, respond fast, and use the phrase get started. So as the way the technology works is really easy. And this is actually a live example. So if anybody is compelled to get really great coverage through Policy Genius, I encourage you to use this. But all they would do is simply call up the launch, respond fast, say the phrase get started. The smart speaker then asks them a few questions. Typically, it'll just be a little bit of information about the product or service. It could be Q&A. It could be other things like just brand information. And so it's really exciting to be able to interact with the smart device, get more information about the product, and then they can actually provide their mobile phone number in order to receive a text message at the end of the interaction. And that text message essentially is a landing page on their mobile phone. So they can call a dedicated agent right away. They can also go right to the landing page. And all this is fully attributed back to the direct marketing campaign that it came from, so that consumers know exactly where that prospect was driven from. So that's a little bit about how Respond Fast works. We have done multiple testing, and we have it in market with some very large fintech players. So we're excited about the growth of this technology and the fact that the larger players that are in market with this right now are continuing. They're seeing very good results, and they're also not seeing a degrade in response. So by adding this brand new call to action, it has not scared any consumers away from responding, but has encouraged them to utilize a new method of responding to direct mail, and is also allowed some of the direct mail itself to have some new innovation included.
Mike, that's great stuff. And Mike and Tej both, those were two great examples of methods to boost response rates through technology. And Tej, I'll throw this to you first, and then Mike, you can jump in after. But is there sort of an overarching philosophy, Tej, that has driven you to invest in these kind of technology techniques?
Sure, Dennis, and thanks for that. It's interesting that you say that, and there actually is. And one of the key areas, and I think, looking at Mike's example, for instance, is these tactics, which ultimately help boost response rates from direct mail, whether it is using a personalized URL, whether it's a QR code, whether it's a smart speaker example that Mike just went on to describe, which looks very cool, or leveraging inbound texting as keywords. These are all fundamentally what we call sort of an omni-channel approach that is essentially facilitating or binding into that changing consumer behavior, which has drastically evolved over the last several years, with so many channels being being adopted by folks because of smartphone prevalence and everything else. So what is the strategy, the big strategy that we encourage our clients to take is to essentially help unify your communications across your touch points and channels. So, that single, the mission being here, sending that, that cliche mission, send that right message to the right customer on the right channel at the right time, is fundamentally achieved by almost stepping away from your thinking about what omni-channel is. Because a lot of folks, think, hey, I'm doing email today, I'm doing, direct mail today, I'm doing maybe some SMS marketing, but ultimately, by using either a different systems or a siloed approach, what you're doing is essentially batching and blasting similar communications to the same consumer across those different channels. And the omni-channel approach, which ultimately involves, the strategy involves these tactics, such as what Mike mentioned or what I mentioned earlier, is ultimately unifying those communications so that you're integrating all of these tactics and connecting the dots where if somebody responds to your, visits your landing page or your personalized landing page, now let's trigger a follow-up response to them this way. If they don't, we're going to send them a text message. And this is where that holistic strategy that our platform, the Experiential platform, is one example of a great platform that supports that, essentially helps our clients elevate their game and take advantage of these stats, which is boosting customer experience by 23x, 91% greater customer retention, or 30% higher lifetime value. So let's look at this again in the context of one very specific campaign that may help describe this omni-channel approach. So what you see here are essentially channels, emails in this case, and SMS, again, running on our platform, but certainly can be employed on other platforms as well, where you're leveraging a workflow, an experience. Each step of that experience, as is described by these different sets of communications, are essentially being driven by what happens in the step before. So platforms like Experiential or others are now able to bring this approach to you as a marketer by binding that customer life cycle, the stage they're in, whether they've looked at something, they've clicked on something, they've opened something, they've responded, or your sales agent has tagged a specific stage in the CRM against that customer, and we're able to automate those follow-up communications to be precisely tailored to that very stage in the journey. And so, when you look at it at a very, very high level, what we think about omni-channel today is really broken down into two distinct components. Omni-channel as a method of acquiring customers, which is using techniques like Mike mentioned, or techniques like, for instance, your personalized URLs, call tracking, keywords, QR codes, using omni-channel as a way to give them more options to raise their hand. And then the other part of omni-channel is to use that omni-channel approach to now loyalize that customer and actually get them to take the next step with you once you've identified them. And blending those two strategies essentially is what helps our customers, and certainly customers, organizations that have taken that approach, to boost their direct mail response rates dramatically. So for example, our Easy Pro platform supports that acquisition, boosting response rates from direct mail using all of these tactics. And a platform like Experiential on the marketing automation side now will take those leads and help nurture them at every stage in the journey. And we literally thousands of examples of this within our ecosystem, and millions across all the various organizations that do this today. So guys, none of this even though, I know this is an innovation, presentation, and what Mike's doing is very, very cool. I think it's even more cutting edge in terms of, where the future could be. But, a lot of these techniques are very mature standards today that are being used across industry. And, we certainly encourage folks that are on this call to look at these options, within your existing ecosystem or outside.
Thanks, Tej. Mike, I'd love to get your thoughts there as well, kind of on the overriding philosophies, but I'd also like you to comment. I know, Mike, you've written a little bit about, and we've talked about the postal system, which is, in the news again this week, where everybody's saying, oh, is the postal system going to cut service or shut down, which is something that we heard a few months ago. So I'd love to get your thoughts there, as well as some of the philosophical reasons for investment in this technology.
Well, I'll start with the investment in technology. I mean, Tej is absolutely correct. I mean, as we get more sophisticated, and as direct mail, needs to include some innovation, I think being able to allow consumers to respond where they're most comfortable responding is going to be key to conversion. And I think, to me, like bringing in new technology like Respond Fast, I think this is exciting. It's something new, it's something different. And what our platform allows too is just the ability to build a brand experience. So actually go beyond, Alexa's voice and actually use live voiceover or music or add video to an Echo Show or something like that through the direct mail. You can really see how your direct mail can come alive and be an extension of your brand beyond direct response. So I think it's really exciting to see where it's going. For the USPS, I mean, look, I think there's so much change going on in the world right now, and there has been for many years. And I think that the USPS has to make a shift. They have to start being more innovative about how they're approaching their business and continue to allow for a reasonable rate for delivering mail, so that direct marketers can continue to take advantage of that channel economically. I do think I did write a blog about things that I felt like the USPS could do right away with what they have, in order to start to increase revenue and start to think about their business a little bit differently. The one thing they have is physical locations, employees, and a fleet of trucks. And so to me, it's a no-brainer to have a few of those things work as an asset to help build that business or move it in a different direction. And just 3 quick ideas that I think we probably all had every once in a while as we're thinking about the USPS is, when you take the fleet, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer is to utilize that fleet for advertising revenue. I think that would make a lot of sense. The same truck drives down your route every single day, and it's geolocated, so you can promote your local theater, or you can promote a national brand. And to me, it would be a really exciting way to do advertising. The second part of that is, I think the fleet plus employees, they're at your house every single day. There's no reason why we can't turn that into some sort of service that could go from home monitoring to wellness checks to even market research. So again, tapping into ways that we can utilize what the USPS already has as assets in order to increase the revenue of that company. And then finally, brick and mortar, offering banking services. The United States used to offer banking service through the USPS, from 1911 to 1966. So, and it was fairly successful. It was actually driving revenue. And this is a really easy thing to implement and put back into our USPS. And then just kind of a fun one to utilize brick and mortar is, why not allow some retailers to throw in some pop-up shops or utilize the real estate inside the USPS to have a different business function. And I think those are just some fun ideas that they should definitely consider as part of being able to grow the revenue of that company. Anyway, I'll send out the blog link afterwards. It's a fun read. And of course, this is just big ideas being thrown out there, but I think there's some real merit to some of those ideas. And the USPS truly just has to think about a shift in their business if they want to continue operating in the capacity that they're operating.
Great. Great thoughts, Mike. Really, really interesting ideas there. Tej, one more quick question for you, and then I think we'll get to some questions. You and I had an interesting conversation last night, and you were talking about how you're seeing media consumption change. Can you expand on that? Tell what are you seeing, and what do you think is going to last, sort of, I guess, post-pandemic?
Well, I don't want to sound like I have all the answers here, Dennis, but we've obviously all been thinking about this so long and hard over the last few months with very little else to do. But I think that one of the most interesting trends, and if you look at the markets today, they usually are a good predictor, or at least in many cases have been, on where trends are going. And, you see a lot of industries beaten down, then you see others that are, just shooting through the roof. Perfect example of that is, of course, your old faithfuls like, because they're old now, is Tesla, the electric movement, the fever there on trucks, cars. Then you have the e-commerce companies that are, really exploding, whether it's groceries or, supermarket chains or just traditional Amazon products and services. And then, of course, you have, the marketing companies. I think a lot of people on the digital side, a lot of folks haven't been paying attention to companies like, for instance, Salesforce or HubSpot or others that are, at all-time highs in their stocks. And so, why is that? And, the interesting thing here is that, as just like in any tipping point situation where there's been, an event that's, affected change, the pandemic, to a large extent, has affected change. There's about 30–40% of the population that's been resistant to, as crazy as it sounds, to change. That change being, moving into, for instance, online shopping or, consuming digital media. And so they were forced into that change. And that's a big, big deal. Even a 20% lift or 25% lift pre-pandemic of people that have made that flip is enough to justify some of these lofty valuations we're seeing. And so what does that means to the average everyday marketer is, believe it or not, if you're in direct mail, which I think a lot of you are, this is really good news for you, because the traditional methods of marketing, the broadcast, the over-the-top media, outdoor channels where, or, even those partnership channels that depend on retail, whether it's someone selling insurance at a point of sale within a big box retailer, those opportunities have now shrunk dramatically. And they're not likely to come back anytime soon. And even if they did, it's going to take a while for that recovery. So where does that leave you as a consumer-focused organization is to be more precise and more targeted and reach people where they are. And the one thing we know where they are today is their homes, because that's where they're stuck and they have nowhere else to go. So, that is why direct marketing as a method, which has always been sort of the redheaded stepchild, if you will, I'm sure you guys agree, is suddenly becoming the norm. And, it's interesting, and I'll end with this last piece. The concept of what is direct marketing is also shifted. The traditional method of saying, hey, direct marketing means I got to put a piece in the mail. Yes, very, very, very important. But even social media can be a direct marketing channel if you're using something called custom audience, where you're matching a physical address file. And we do this for clients. It's a part of our omnichannel strategy. In fact, I believe we might have done this with Dennis, you as well, where you take your direct mail pieces, and before you drop them into the mail stream, we're using something called addressable geofencing, where we're matching every record to their Facebook and social media profiles, and we're chasing them around with ads before the mail piece arrives. We're appending emails. We're hitting them, again, with the personalized URLs, and then following them up with nurturing. So that is how you use that postage stamp, in my opinion, today to maximum effect. And it's a great time to do this because there's finally technology today that puts all this together without having to invest in 10 different systems and spend, potentially 3 times as much as your direct mail to make that happen. And that's no longer required because software solutions are available to, add this very, very incrementally.
Fantastic. Tej and Mike, thank you. We've got a couple of questions. I'll just take them in order that they came in. First question was around, Mike, and for you, the price of RespondFast. I think you referenced a $3.99 per month. Can you confirm that was a per month cost for RespondFast?
That's right. Yeah. So we keep it low cost because we want to get adoption. The more adoption we have, the more behavior we can change. So we're making the barrier entry to add RespondFast to your direct mail campaigns super easy. And then when you couple that with the USPS discount, obviously it's a no-brainer. So yeah, we're excited about that. And the way the business model works for us is scale. So as we get more people on the platform, that $3.99 will definitely pay the bills, and we're excited about being able to offer it at such a low cost.
Great. And next question was for Tej. Tej, what are the top industries that you're seeing are having the biggest lifts in response from Pearls?
For those folks that are in finance here, you'll probably celebrate because it is actually the biggest the largest adopter of Pearl technology today in North America, and we're the leading provider of this in the U.S. And in North America today, in fact, worldwide. Financial services, whether it's personal lending, whether it's automotive lending, whether it's mortgage, whether it's even debt settlement, all of those industries, banking. I'd say close behind, very, very close behind, is automotive, healthcare. We're doing enormous campaigns. We're talking about huge multi-million piece campaigns monthly for major managed care providers, to communicate with their members. Retail is another. The problem with retail, I think, and that's true mostly in the direct mail world, is when you're selling a one-off item, it's very hard to justify putting a postage stamp on a piece. So think about it in context of really any service, whether it's, even when I was talking about financial services, financial advisory, we see it in any services industry across the board, any high-value consumer product across the board. And then, of course, we're very, very big in gaming and entertainment, casinos, events. So it really runs the gamut. Sorry if that wasn't, as specific, but I do think that financial services has been one of the catalysts for adoption because of the ability to be so precise with what they can present to those customers when they arrive at their pages.
Awesome. And then the last question, Mike, is for you. A comment, your technology is very cool. Can you share any early case studies on A/B testing holdouts with this technology?
Yeah, so we're working with 2 very, very big mailers right now that are at huge scale. So this is going to give us some really great indication on how it all performs. Those have also been A/B tested. Early on, we worked with a large fintech company here in San Francisco where we did 2 large cells over 500,000 each, one with RespondFast, one without. The one with RespondFast actually had an increased response rate of about a 5% lift, but not so not much, but some increase in response. And we think partly that's due to the fact that this fintech company is very technology focused, and it's going to a cohort that is also likely technology focused and is comfortable responding to mail, utilizing their smart speakers. So what we haven't seen is a degrade in response. By adding this additional call to action, we haven't seen a decrease in response in any of the mailers that we've seen, that we've put out into market. And in addition to that, when you, again, couple that with a USPS discount, which we're hoping we'll get again next year, this is kind of a no-brainer to save quite a bit of money in postage, but also providing a new and exciting way for consumers to respond to your mail.
That's great. Well, Tej and Mike, thank you both so much for joining us today. I always enjoy talking with both of you and sharing some ideas, and this has all been great stuff, and I think great ideas for all of our participants. I do just want to note, and I'll call out one participant noted in the chat about spreading the word about the USPS and the beliefs that everybody here has obviously in the system. There's probably nothing better that we can all do than to invest in the industry that supports us all. So please share all the positive information you can about the post office to sort of tamp down some of the negativity that might be out in the press. We are having a drawing, I think, as we mentioned in some of the invitations. We're actually going to have 3 lucky winners of door prizes today. We've selected those. We'll contact you directly for an Echo show and a few other great prizes or great gifts for our attendees. So I hope you all enjoyed these last 45 minutes as much as I did. We're going to have details on our next session of Commingled coming out in just a few days. So keep your eye on your email boxes for that information. We're also going to we've recorded this session. We'll be sharing this on our YouTube channels, so you can continue to watch it and share it with all of your other colleagues. Again, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Victoria. Thanks, Tej. And thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great, wonderful rest of the week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.